With the EM1 in the body shop, we're ready to start the body work. Now, first what we're going to do is disassemble the doors. We're going to get everything off the car that we can so we can have a nice clean refinish around all those edges. So getting these doors off is going to be the first task, and getting all the stickers off, the VTEC stickers and the SI stickers in the back, that's what we were doing there. Then the first step and first process is going to be blocking it out. We're going to be using the existing paint, which is still good, as our guide to show us where our little ripples are. Now, overall, this car looked really straight, but we wanted to add a little bit of body filler to make sure it's 100% straight and looking really good when it goes down the road. So we blocked this all out with 180 grit to smooth it out as good as we could, to give a good adhesion for when we laid down some of our glazing body filler. And you can see here on our quarter panel in our trunk, we're using that long block, and those long strokes are going to allow for smoother looking finishes once paint lays down. Now, this is going to be a glazing body filler, which is super thin. Now, we can put this right over our sanded paint if it is good paint. If it is not good paint, which we'll see later, you're gonna have to strip it down. So this is very thin. It is not a thick filler, so you have to make sure if you have any dents previous to this, you need to go ahead and remove those dents, because this is not thick enough to fill it. Think of it as a thick primer that is going to go into any little tiny wave, and once we go and sand it down, it's going to be much flatter. So let's get all our body filler down. And after a good 30 minutes, it's ready to sand. Now, we're using 180 grit here on the block once again. And you'll see as we're sanding that about 90% of this filler comes off, and it only remains in the very shallow areas. And we're going to take this same stance on every single part. It is a lot, but you know, blocking it out is going to really level it off, and you can't do this with a sander or anything like that, because everything has to be done by hand in order to ensure that it is properly flattened out. So once again, we'll start off with cutting it down with an 80 grit, and then we'll go into a 180 grit to smooth it off. And the technique we're using is a cross hatch pattern. We're almost sanding in an X style, and this is going to make sure that that filler is really sanded uniform throughout the body panel.
We got the hood off of the car, is where we're going to start our body work. Now we have Diaz going to circle the little dents that aren't so obvious. Now this whole area is a little bit wobbly, so we're going to put Bondo over here just to kind of smooth it out, a nice thin coat. And there's some little dings and dents that you might miss once you go to sand it down, so now is the time to get them. So let's start stripping this down and getting some filler on it and smoothing it completely out.
And we're getting all of our parts in filler first before we prime. Now we went over to the roof, and the roof had old paint and it was cracking. It was not a good substrate, okay, a good basis to put any filler or any paint on top, because it was just going to crack again if the bottom layer is not good. So we had to take this down to metal, and you can see it was a lot of work, but the end process was beautiful. Now if this whole car had the same paint that it had on the roof, we would have to perform the same task, but lucky for us, the paint was really good condition and a good basis to do some body work over. So we'll start by mixing up our DTM, which is direct to metal primer, which will protect any of the metal surfaces like the roof here and all of the other panels that are still showing metal. So we'll go ahead and get everything all primered up. And there are still a bunch more parts as we finish up on this primering that will receive some work, although the brand new parts like that fender and the front bumper cover will not need any sort of body work or primer work like this, which we'll show you in the next episode when it comes to prepping out these parts and getting them into a red primer and then eventually paint. So we will see also the body moldings, the side mirrors, the spoiler, all the accessories that really pull together and make this EM1 what it was when it rolled off the showroom floor. So now it's that time we've been waiting for to get the actual vehicle all sanded down and ready for paint. Now the way I do things is a little bit different when attacking a restoration type of job. So the way I like to do it is I like to focus my attention on painting the roof first. However, I'll go ahead and I'll sand down the whole entire vehicle just to make sure that one final prep that we have all of our bases covered and there's nowhere we need to go back and retouch. So we'll go ahead, we'll completely sand down the whole vehicle with a DA sander in a P600 grit. This will allow a nice smooth finish for our paint to lay down on. Now once that's all completely sanded down, we'll go ahead and we'll roll this into the paint booth, and you're going to notice that I'm going to once again just paint the roof. And the reason why is this car is a little bit higher up, it's on jack stands, and we're leaning over, and we really want to execute a beautiful job on the roof. So we're going to focus our attention on the roof only, so we can lean over, we can get it nice and shiny, and then from there what we'll do is we're able to pull it back out and then focus on the rest. Now for the paint Milano Red, I take myself a empty gallon, and then I'm going to mix up 127 ounces, just shy of a full gallon, and we'll take all of the toners and we'll mix them together. It'll take a few different colors to make this beautiful Milano Red color, whether it's a red, a burgundy, or a white, or a black. All those mixes go into the actual formula itself to give you that beautiful Milano Red that we all have come to love over the years. Once we have the reducer in there, it's ready to go, and we can just simply put our stirrer in, and then we can pour it into our PPS cup and get spraying. So let's go ahead and get this roof sprayed, and then we'll continue on with the rest of the body. Now with the roof all nice, shiny, and glossy, we can unmask the rest of the vehicle and start with the prep and the painting on the rest of the vehicle here. So basically we'll roll it back in after it's been all masked up, and we're going to focus only on the quarter panels and doing the jambs. Now the reason why you would paint a car all apart is because you want to wrap the paint around all of the edges. Now we're going to start here over in the front, and we're going to work our jam area all the way to the quarter panels, and this is just a great way to get full paint. Now keep in mind, this project is a full restoration job. This is not a regular paint job that you would have done at a shop. They're just going to spray the outsides and that's just about it. But this is a full restoration job we're doing on this EM1, and something like this just takes a lot of time and effort to get every single surface prepared. There wasn't a panel or surface area on this vehicle that was ready for paint. Every single square inch of it needed to be thoroughly prepared so that when paint lies down, well, it looks this beautiful. Now we're using our red base coat right over our red primer, so it covers fairly well, and we got out of this with about 3 coats on all of the surfaces. Now you'll see in coming clips that we're going to spray the doors and the rest of the vehicle parts that will be installed on this beautiful EM1. So after base coat, you can see that it's flashing off and drying with a little bit of a sheen, and it's ready for its clear coat. Now we only applied 2 coats of clear to the whole vehicle with a high solids clear just like this. It is only needing 2 coats of clear. Back in the old days, you would put on 3 or 4 coats of clear. Well, 1 coat of the high solids clear equals about 2 or 3 of the old style clear coat. So it's very thick and very UV resistant with a absolutely beautiful shine. So let's go ahead and get the rest of this all cleared up. Wow, and this EM1 has never shined like this, even at the factory. So we talked about earlier about getting full paint coverage on all of our surfaces. So we're going to start on the insides of the doors, making sure that we prepare them properly so that when you open that door, you would never know that they were resprayed at any given time. We made sure to take our paint all the way up around the rail where the window goes and our complete inside of the jamb as well. We're following the same process, and our paint will always match because it's coming from the exact same container, so we don't have to worry about painting at separate times because it's the same exact process for each and every part. I prefer to paint all parts separately because you get a nicer, cleaner finish. Or that beautiful finish on the door, well, we have to make sure that there's a beautiful finish inside of the hood as well. So that's exactly what we did over here. We wanted to make sure this project was completely glossed out, and you'll see in further clips that we pretty much glossed everything out no matter where it was on the vehicle. And this stuff takes a lot of work, a lot of sanding. You need to use your maroon scuff pad to get into every single crevice and edge so that you don't have any peeling paint. And we laid down a red sealer here first, and a sealer basically is a primer that you don't have to sand, and this easily could have been a primer if it was mixed differently. But the sealer coat, all you gotta do is top coat it with your red Milano base coat and you're good to go, and then 2 coats of our clear coat and it's nice and shiny again. Shinier than most cars you'll see on the road when we have this inside of the hood. Now we'll follow it on the outside, once again using our red sealer, and we'll follow the same process as we've been doing on the whole entire vehicle. We'll go ahead and Milano it, and then we'll go ahead and clear coat it after that, and the hood came out spectacular. I can't wait to show you guys how absolutely stunning and beautiful and how shiny this EM1 hood came out. You always want to make sure on any vehicle you paint that the whole vehicle looks good, but you want to make sure that hood is just completely crispy and beautiful because it's the focal point of any vehicle. It's the first thing you see from the front end. So we're moving on to the back end, and remember what I showed you and talked to you guys about, we're going to gloss out every single surface. Well, that's just what we're doing. You can see the inside of the trunk is completely base coat and clear coat, so when you pop up that trunk, well, you know it's got the same finish and the same treatment as the rest of the actual vehicle itself. And just look how stunning it looks. This stuff makes me truly happy, and as all the pieces are finished, the puzzle pieces come together on the car and it looks absolutely stunning. We'll follow up the same treatment on the exterior of the trunk as well as our other parts that we have for the vehicle. That trunk came out beautiful. Now moving on to the bumper covers and front lips and things of that nature. When it comes to this OEM part, I like to go ahead and primer it first, and I do actually primer over all the parts that should be black, because later on I come back in with the SEM trim paint and I will paint those black once it's dried. This is just the cleanest and easiest way to do it that I felt over the years of painting these parts. So we have our rear lip here, which was in excellent condition, and these are very hard to find. So just a little bit of a scuff, maybe some primer in some areas for this part, and we were rocking and rolling on this and other parts in the paint booth, which I'll show you here in just a moment. But you can see how many puzzle pieces it takes to complete a job like this. This is a full, complete restoration paint job. Every single part gets sanded, every single part gets full paint, and that takes time and energy, and you can see the amount of work and materials put into a job like this, and the finished product is just looking stunning. So we'll go ahead and mark off our fog light covers. That way, well, we cut them before we actually do the paint work, just in case. So we mark these off, and then we use a Sawzall type of tool, and that really helps. But it's always important to drill a hole first so you can fit that Sawzall in there, and I drill them at the corners. It just makes things a lot easier when it comes to cutting out these fog light covers. Now on every one of these bumpers, it has a scribe line that you follow, and I just highlighted that in yellow just to make it a little bit easier for cutting, so you can actually see it before you cut, because you don't want any slips when you're doing this type of work, especially on an OEM bumper cover that's brand spanking new. So once we have this all cut out, then we'll continue on into the paint booth and get all of our parts, well, all painted.